Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for watching Hot Conflict. Today I wanted to talk about books and the place that books hold in Islam. Now, many people don't realize how important it is for the Muslim world that they have literacy. The Quran, which is a book revealed in Arabic, is read and recited and memorized all over the Muslim world. In Arabic, in the original language, cover to cover, word for word, it is preserved from the original manuscript from the time of the Prophet and the Caliphs till now. In the Turkish Museum, you can see copies of the original Quran. And all over the world, whether in schools or mosques or, yes, even madrasas, kids are learning to memorize the Quran, cover to cover in the original language. Last week I went to the mosque here in Houston, a local masjid, and I was shocked to see that they were having a celebration. 3 or 4 of the sheikhs in the community were testing someone for their memorization skill. Somebody in the community had completed memorizing the Quran. Turned out to be an elder man named Dr. Sabahi, who is a medical doctor, and he's probably in his 60s, quite an older gentleman, and he had just finished completing memorizing the whole Quran from cover to cover. When I heard about that, I was like, that old guy just finished memorizing the whole Quran now? Do people still do that? They memorize the whole Quran from cover to cover? Wow, that's amazing. I didn't even know people were still doing that anymore. Yes, it's true, there are people all over the world. It's kind of embarrassing for me because, wow, if that guy could do it, it makes you want to question yourself and say, listen, if that guy could do it, I'm sure he came into the masjid every day after Fajr, the first prayer, sat with the sheikhs, spent time reading every day and memorizing. And yes, it took some time and it takes some work, but if he could do it, anybody could do it. It's always amazing for me to hear about people who have memorized the Quran from cover to cover. And subhanAllah, there's nothing more admirable than that. That's one of the greatest things you can do is memorize the Quran. Now, it always intrigued me because, of course, the Quran plays a major part in the way I think and how I act, and it's a great influence on my life. But I grew up here in the United States, and so books form the way you think, and they form your attitude. And some of the greatest books that I've read were through school. Other than the Quran, I can think of a few books off the top of my head. Yes, mostly fiction. For example, George Orwell's 1984. Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. Ayn Rand's Anthem. Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World. Yes, a lot of science fiction, a lot of utopianism and those kinds of concepts, but they played a part in the way I thought about things, to question, as we see in 1984, the concept of war, who you are at war with, who is your enemy, first Oceania, then Eurasia, and the way propaganda plays from the government to the people, and how thought control affects and what you see and what you don't see. And it made me question a lot of what I believe, and it forced me to go out and search and travel the world and see different places and talk to different people, because I was never willing to buy the party line. I didn't want to believe in the propaganda. Everywhere I would go, I would listen to people talk and I would think, yeah, some of what you're saying makes sense, but a lot of what you're saying, I don't know if that's really true. I have to keep questioning it. I remember reading Fahrenheit 451 for the first time and picturing the salamander trucks as they come in. And Guy walks out with the flamethrower, a fireman, but not a fireman to put out fires, a fireman to start them. Why? Because there are books. And their job in Fahrenheit 451 as firemen was to come out and just flamethrow, light all the books so that there weren't any books left. I remember thinking that was such an amazing book, and how knowledge was being taken away, and that they were trying to eliminate books, take away the information so people couldn't keep it. And many people just kept trying to hide books and protect books. And I remember at the end of Fahrenheit 451, in that dramatic scene where Guy, the main character at the end, leaves the city and gives up his job as the fireman to burn books. and he goes out and he meets other people and he finds other characters. And he introduces himself, and one person's like, "Hello, I'm Great Expectations, the book." The other person is, "I'm A Tale of Two Cities." Another person is, "I'm the Iliad, I'm the Odyssey." And each person was a book. In an effort to try and protect literature, to try and protect knowledge, each person was memorizing a great classic. I thought, wow, that's amazing. Just think, to be able to stand there and say, yes, I'm a holder of the Quran. I hold the Quran. I am holding in my mind the words of Allah. I hold the Quran. In Islam, we know the hadith and the statements of Hamilatul Quran, the person who carries the Quran and what kind of status he has in the afterlife, the person who holds the Quran. But when I was reading Fahrenheit 51, I was listening to the story and amazed, and I thought, how many books would be lost? If we ever got to a point in society where books were burnt and only a few people memorized what were their favorite books, so many books would be lost. And in reality, as time went on and books didn't get transferred on, there would be no books left. But I know for a fact there would be the Quran. All over the world right now, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have the Quran memorized from cover to cover. Not even the Bible is memorized like that, because of the Bible there are so many different versions and denominations. In the Quran, it's the same Quran that everybody's memorizing. In all the major masjids, all the major mosques, all over the United States and Canada, and all over the rest of the world, the same Quran, the same Arabic, word for word. It's the Quran. So when we talk about books, and we talk about the value of knowledge and information, we talk about some of these great classics of American literature and what they're trying to represent, as Muslims, we've got to remember the book that is preserved by its very miraculous nature. The Quran. The Quran. The Quran is the book that is the source of knowledge. Yes, seek out information from everywhere that you can get, but there can be no greater thing than memorizing the Quran. I'm encouraging everybody else, as I encourage myself, we all have to try and do a little bit more. And I encourage everybody, Muslims and non-Muslims, look to the Quran, start reading it. Don't listen to what the pundits say and what you hear on the blogs and on the radio, on the television. The book is there. Go read it for yourself. If you don't understand it, if you're not sure what people are saying, if you don't get the meanings clear, read more versions. Read other translations. Of course, the Arabic is always the same, but the English is there. Read the Quran. Search out the information. As they say in the sci-fi world, whether we're talking about 1984, Fahrenheit 451, Anthem 2112, A Brave New World, or any of the other far out there concepts, the truth is out there. The truth is there, right in front of everybody for you to see. Look into the Quran, the greatest book of all time. Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for watching Hot Conflict.